Hello, it's me, Annalisa, with my spiritual friend. I'm back. It's Sunday, September 15th. How are you? I have to think about which way I'm moving my hair. I don't know. Nope, that's not the way I want it. Nope, this way. um, there, that's fine. It's sticking up. Okay. I have a payment from Mariana. Next week I won't be here. I may do readings on Saturday, but I'm not sure. I just have to see how everything kind of comes together because I have a bar mitzvah to go to on Sunday. And I can't miss it. It's for a very important kid. That's all I have on my list for right now. Let me see. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So who's here? Hi, Rothka. I've been thinking about you. I was like wondering. You fell off the face of the earth. I wondered where you were, what you were doing, what was going on, if you were well. And of course, I didn't reach out because I'm like, she's probably busy. Hi, Lexi. Good to see you. Hi, Mariana. Oh, lovely. It's late there. Let's ask your question then so you don't get. Hang on. What did I just do with that? Dang it. Sorry, I'm looking for my lip stuff. You know me. Oh, I must have set it down somewhere. Darn it. Oh, well. C'est la vie. So, what's your question? And how's Portugal? Are you there like permanently now, or are you just visiting? So I had this weird thing happen. I'm not sure with it here. Do you guys know what the Mandela effect is? So, I've been doing these meditations, the gateway meditations. Oh, you didn't see my live. I was, let's see. I took off 1 week because I was on vacation, and then I came back and I was pretty sick. So I think I went short because I just wasn't feeling well. I was coughing a lot still. I got COVID. And then, I think the following week I had to take off early because my daughter was at a friend's house and they were dropping her off. My husband wasn't here. And I thought, well, surely I'll hear the doorbell ring. And I didn't. So then I got a text from my friend, because I'm friends with my daughter's friend's mom. She was like, hey, I didn't have my phone. So I kind of biffed that one up because I still wasn't feeling that great. That might have been in the same weekend. Who knows? And then, yeah, but I won't be here next week. I'm drinking some herbal tea that's meant for, I don't know, lung something or another. My friend told me to get it from some Chinese herbalist in Chinatown in New York City. It tastes kind of like tree barks and root, but it's fine. Pretty similar to most of the teas I drink. Very earthy. Okay, that's my excitement. Let's see. Oh, so wait, hang on. I have to tell you the Mandela thing, and then I'm going to answer a question. Yeah, COVID 4 times. Like, that is like literally, I feel like, and so my oldest daughter, I think, got it, though she didn't test positive, but she had like the stomach end of it and like fevers, and she's still not really 100%. But nobody else got it, thankfully, in my house. And which is actually kind of like crazy because when we were on vacation, I was sharing a room with 2 of my daughters because my husband snores really loud. And my oldest daughter just needs more space, kind of like quiet, and so I was, there's plenty of beds in the 1 bedroom. So we just slept. I mean, we each had our own bed. We just shared the room with them. And I don't really care, whatever. Um, they didn't get sick, and all three girls drove home with me because we took two cars. Because again, since my oldest needs a little bit of more quiet and downtime, it allows like one parent to take the other kids and go do stuff, and then like, but nobody's really like stranded at home because we can run out, whatever. Anyway, COVID sucks. It sucks. But I've been like taking mass quantities of vitamin D, and that seems to be like helping me symptom wise. As far as like the lethargy, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, we don't care about this. Like, let's move on. But the Mandela thing. Okay, so growing up, and I'll answer your question because I just need to share this with somebody, and I probably sound crazy, but so whatever. Growing up, I learned that New Zealand was an island to the east, like slightly southeast of Australia. And I was like, cool. That's what I always know. And then like maybe a year ago, I don't know why I looked it up or something like came across my feed and I was like, what? And all of a sudden, this is why I say Mandela effect and changing timelines. New Zealand was actually a part of the continent of Australia, but on the west side. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like literally like, I know I'm not great at geography. I was not dreaming this because I looked it up over several days where I'm like, what is going on? So then I was like, Mandela effect. And people were like, oh, I thought it was like just slightly more north of Australia. And I'm like, and like a few people said, you know, like where I was saying it was. I'm like, how is this? Like, I literally thought this was an island nation. Like, what is going on? So last week, so I'm doing these gateway experience meditations. And when you get to like this, the wave 1, tape 6, you start where you basically are asking a question and waiting to receive information. And I was sort of asking, and I did this one several times before. My guides were kind of like, okay, move on now. Let's go to like wave 2, step 7. And I think I'm going to be on that one for a few times before I move on because I'm enjoying it. And I also feel like I want to get deeper than I'm getting before I move on to the next thing. And I asked them, so I was asking about health stuff and healing health stuff and then some other things going on. And like, then I said, please provide me with evidence that I have changed timelines around like, because I believe when we're changing certain situations, whatever, like we're changing timelines. That it's not like that when people are like, I made a massive jump. I don't really think it's like that. I really think that we're just always subtly making timeline shifts. My Amazon package is delivered, just so you know. Anyway, so a thing came across my feed again, and it was talking about New Zealand, and it showed a map of New Zealand, and all of a sudden, New Zealand was like now where I learned it was when I was in school, back over an island nation southeast of Australia. And people, so then I was like, okay, wait a minute. Like, this is, I mean, I'm fine, like, whatever. It's not really affecting me. It's like, it is what it is. But also, it's one of those, like, what things. And so then I looked up the Mandela effect in New Zealand because I was like, did anybody ever report it as being like actually a part of the continent of Australia, like on the west side of Australia? And in fact, no, they had always reported it where either where I learned it was originally when I was a kid, like southeast island or slightly northeast island of, or like more northern of Australia. Has anyone ever had that happen? Where did you learn New Zealand was? Where did you think it was? Like, I was just like, I don't know why this happened. I mean, I don't know if it's as an effect of like something I'm shifting, but I was like, that was a very interesting way to have the universe show me that I've shifted timelines again. And I probably sound crazy. I get it. Totally get it. But I still wanted to share it anyway, in case anybody else has crazy experiences like that too. Okay. Okay. Question for Mariana. You're probably all like, great, we found the crazy one. Indeed. Okay. And some people will pass it off and be like, well, you just didn't learn it right, or you didn't know. Like, I know what I learned. I know what the experience was a year ago. I don't do drugs, and I know what I saw last week. So, update on how my husband's film that he is doing by himself will do. Will it gather enough interest? How successful will it be? Lady. I'm giving you a hard time because it's like one question, $12, and people are like 16 questions. Let me get it in. So I'm giving you a hard time. It's okay. So when you're asking about the money, I feel like the money is okay. I had a feeling you meant veterans and not veterinarians. Okay. Tell me where the 100,000 comes in. Is that the amount that he's invested of his own money? And I feel like it might get picked up by like something like the History Channel. I don't feel like it's maybe Amazon Prime. I don't feel like it's like a mainstream release. I feel like it's less about like I feel like he'll make his money back for sure and maybe a little bit over. So maybe the 100,000 is like what they offer for it, or which sounds like very little. I don't know, or what he ends up making off of it after things get paid off. Blah blah blah. I also feel like it's not so much about the notoriety, like everybody being like, "Oh my god, blah blah blah," but about I'm trying to think of the word I want to use. It gives legitimacy to his resume and his work. So it's not necessarily like this is the big breakout one, even though I feel like it is really good. And I feel like by people who know and understand it will really be highly acclaimed. But I also feel like it's he's happy with his work. He's very proud of it. And I think this idea of like, it's one of those things where the rewards come a little bit later because it's like, oh, you did a really good job with this. But it's not like one of those things where it's like this blockbuster success. And so it's like it's just that it's like it's very well done. And so again, it gives legitimacy to his resume. And so it's like it's more about the building block that it is than the mega hit that it is, if that makes sense. Oh, there's not gonna be a lot of people here today, I guess. That's okay. We can have a short day. I got stuff to do anyway. I'm planning on launching my new website this week. I've got a few more edits on it. And I got to add something to that because we're doing like a stand store as a way of instead of what I was doing. So it's easier. I think the process of checking out and all that stuff is easier, and there'll be a free digital download you can get, all kinds of stuff. So I've just got stuff to do. Whatever. I'm just rambling. Okay, I think that's the primary goal, to have a long-term impact. Yeah. It will be good for educational purposes. And I actually felt like what's interesting, I don't know why I would feel like it would be at like something they might show at Pearl Harbor or parts of it at Pearl Harbor. I don't understand that, but I remember when my husband and I went to Pearl Harbor, we were on our honeymoon, and which was interesting because there were like souls of soldiers that had been there, and they were so proud to show and educate, and you could just feel their energy there. And one was like walking around with us and talking to me a lot. But I don't know, there's something about that. I'm feeling like 2026, and I don't know if that means production is finished and it's ready to like launch, or yeah, I think that that's what that is. He is a little nitpicky. That's okay though. When it's your baby, we understand, right? Right. There's a light that is shining so you can see. Like, I don't know if you know what track lighting is, but my house was built in the 70s. And so this room, we just haven't updated anything in it really. And there's track lighting in here, but they don't like really hold well, at least that I can tell. And I was trying to see if there's like a, so this one's like hanging down. I'm rambling. Okay, wondering if he will be done. Okay, sorry. That makes sense. It can take a few years for final cut. You're very welcome. Enjoy Portugal. Rafka, you want to ask your question? Did y'all see that JD Vance came out and admitted that the Haitians are eating cats and dogs thing was not true, which obviously that he made the story up because he felt like the news isn't picking up enough of the problems with immigration. I was like, this racist motherfucker. Like, you sent in for a question. Okay. Let me see. Oh shoot, I didn't finish answering this guy's question. Okay, I'll have to get back to that. I'm just looking for it. Sorry, I'm a little slow. Did you message me with a question somewhere? Are you in WhatsApp messaging me? Where did you send it in? Oh, how you should refresh it? Well, maybe I'm laughing about the JD Vance thing that I shared. Okay. So I just heard new contracts are coming in. What's interesting to me is I do feel like, especially starting in January and February, so the end of this year still feels a little stagnant and slow, though I feel like December you'll start getting like more connections and talks. January and February feels like it's picking up. And I'm going to tell you that I think a lot of that has to do with the election. I think it has a lot to do with like going to be having big seats flipped. Like when they say blue wave, they mean blue wave. I had messaged somebody a couple years ago and said, I think Alabama's going to flip. Like I saw a lot of Black women coming out to vote. I think I might have meant Arkansas. I can't remember. Anyway, regardless, maybe I said Arkansas. I don't know. But red states are going to be flipping. And it's like, what? But really and truly, like mass numbers of people are coming out to vote. Because of that, I also feel like more companies and schools are going to be putting more money back into equity and diversity training. So I feel like that's going to be like an uptick for you. You're probably not going to like the answer I have to give you about what you're supposed to do. It feels like making your company more visible. And it can mean also like you don't have to be the face of it. Like you can make videos and put content out there that is, not with your face on it, if that's what you're concerned about. But it just feels like opening it up energetically for that growth and that connection. I do see, and there's something you're currently working with, and I feel like I don't know if it's like your company or if it's something you're affiliated with. And I see a woman who's a bit older than you in age, maybe 15 years older. It feels like energetically there's something that like creates a stop, like between the two of you, meaning your visions don't meet. And so it creates this like feeling of like, I just have to do what she wants me to do. But even though it's maybe not the best, I feel like she's taking a step back from her position. So somebody new is coming in, or I don't really know, but I feel like that's not going to be an issue. Maybe within 6 months. It might be as late as May, though. Sorry if that's too long. Hi, Regine. Good to hear from you. I'm mostly feeling better. I still have these weird bouts of like coughing. And I've been drinking earthy teas to help and trying to hydrate. But I am back to like, I did my ice skating lessons on Friday, and I went ice skating with my kids again today, and I'm doing my walks. So I have more energy. It's just like a naggy cough that happens. So yay me. Yeah, I just feel like making sure that you're more out there with the consultancy stuff, because it feels like it's like just I don't know. It also feels like, and maybe this is like weird, but it's like some of the approach feels like it needs to be a little bit more this is so dumb to say it this way because I don't know, but trendy, which I 1,000% usually shy away from any sort of trendy stuff. My marketing person wants to like, she's like, but you could just try it. And I was like, I'm not putting pictures with me pointing at shit. I'm not doing that. I don't care if it's a trend. I'm not doing it. It's not me. I'm not. Yeah. And she's wonderful, but like, I'm always like, I probably just drive her crazy sometimes because I'm like, nah, not doing it. Okay, there is an organization I'm affiliated with that has been helpful for steady hours, but not super nurturing for the soul. Okay, I'm getting my head around that. I am doing a little podcast for the consultancy. I need to jumpstart it. Yeah, and maybe you stop and say, okay, so I've came across this like manifestation story that was on TikTok, and the woman was like talking about how like we have this idea that we want to manifest for a certain amount of income, and you could put this like a certain amount of exposure. But she said sometimes like where you're like, oh, like I want to make $10,000 a month or a week or whatever, right? So it's this idea of like, okay, I need to manifest for that. But she said, maybe rather than thinking of it as like manifesting for that, maybe it's like I need to create enough value for my clients or prospective clients that I am creating that much value for them. So then like obviously that's an exchange of energy. So you'll obviously get that $10,000 back, right? So maybe it's more about like creating enough energetically magnetic content that would result or for like a audience of, and then pick the number of the people that you want to be following you or seeing you. Just kind of rattling that around in my brain. Oy. Maybe I'm not better yet. I haven't been, sorry. It really does take me a while to get over COVID, and maybe I should manifest differently, but this one just, I don't know. I think it's with having, like, I'm self-diagnosing as having MCAS, or I definitely have histamine intolerance. My body just doesn't like it. I think about it in terms of me helping them show up and how they want to in the world with each other. So it's like also like being the magnet for all of these people, like creating it as it's easy for me to track this. It's easy for me to show up and create this content. I'm excited about creating this content. That kind of a thing. Click on my front teeth. Sorry. My cup was like, perk. Who else is here besides you and Regine? Mariana, did you head out? Who's here? Say hello. Lexi's here. I think she said hello in the beginning. That might be all of you. All of me. Why not take all of me? Hi, Fred. How are you? It is helpful to think out. Like, sometimes I just need to hear stuff outside. I kind of verbally process. So let's look. My friend who's my marketer person agent, she's also my friend. We've developed a friendship. And so, like, I'll just randomly text her. She's like, can you like send this? I'm like, oh, I'm just verbally processing. Like, so I'm not like out loud, but it's like, I have to like put it outside of me. Me too. I mean, I'm mostly better. It's just like this nagging, like, I bet if I took antihistamines, it's probably also allergy related. I just try not to take too much stuff because, you know, hang on, I'm getting a little burned up. I'll get there. Big fan. You know what's funny is I do take children's Benadryl when I do take it. Other than I try not to take Benadryl a lot because it's a class 1, category 1. Forget what it's called. Of like it's like like the old school ones, and there have been links to it lending towards Alzheimer's and things like that. And I used to take stuff like that like crazy, and because I would be like, oh, I need to go to sleep, and because I have like a lot of allergy, like I had histamine issues, so I had hives. My sophomore year in high school, I had hives literally from like here all the way down. So I'd wear, thank God it was the 90s. So like long sleeve shirts and like wearing like pants and stuff all the time was not abnormal. And like loose fitting clothes was not abnormal. Anyway, so I try not to take much of it, but when I do have like where I notice like my histamine stuff is flaring up, I'll take that. Like, especially if I've eaten something and it causes a reaction in my throat. Randomly giving you information about me. Anyway, I just, whatever. I could just avoid outside, but I can't because I love the trees and all of that. Anyway, does anybody have any other questions? Are we done? It's not a long day. If you guys want to ask general questions about, I don't know, world events and things like that, I'm good with that. Happy to teach you about stuff if you have questions about random spiritual manifesting things. Otherwise, we can say adieu. Fred L, is that Lexi? Is that no? somebody's name shows up as Fred L, but it's not Fred L, right? Am I wrong about that? Anyway, any questions, anybody? Correct. Okay. Not really Fred. Okay. Anybody have any general questions? I don't have I can tell you to do these. I would tell you to do these. So Rothka had sent me something about people having scary experiences doing the gateway experiences. Yeah, look at that. Your question just popped up. I don't know where Devery is. Sometimes Devery goes into little hiding and goes into hibernation and doesn't show up for a while. And I think it's because I've upset her. But I adore her, so I hope, I don't know. And I think that because because I don't sugarcoat things, so I'm always so I know that sometimes I can rub people the wrong way. That's okay though, because I know she knows I genuinely care about all of you, and I genuinely want the best for all of you, but I also will not BS anybody. So, okay, so the gateway stuff. So I think my conclusion of a lot of the stuff, so if anybody doesn't know what the gateway stuff is, the Monroe Institute put together these, I'm just I can't push this up and it's annoying me because I just don't want it down. They put together these, basically it's a step-by-step guide of how to meditate and connect with you. I mean, maybe I'm not all the way through them yet. So to this point, it's really about connecting with, it could be source or a higher being or whatever. It's not really the aliens and interdimensional beings. Maybe as we go further, I'll get more of that. But really, this is it's almost like the way it feels when I connect in with doing readings, right? So it's that sourcey energy. Don't listen to it. Archive.org. And I'm going to, once my website launches and the Stan Store launches, I'll have a link to it on there so it's easier for you to find them. But it's on archive.org, and you have to make sure that you put Monroe Institute Gateway Experience tapes, because if you don't put the tapes, then you end up getting something else. And you sort of have to be patient with it, because it's at least what I have found is it doesn't necessarily play immediately. It there's a tiny bit of a lag. Hi, Julia. Don't apologize. You show up when you're supposed to show up. So it's essentially it's very interesting to me because so they have this this isn't on the first tape. I forget what the first tape has you do. I think the first tape has you do where they call it Focus 10. It's essentially doing a countdown where you do a head to toe relaxation of all of your body, making sure you've released all the tension and all of the stress, blah, blah, blah. They say you can lay down or sit up. If you fall asleep, sit up. Don't lay down. That's one thing I had to do, is I had to make sure I sit up because I fall asleep meditations all the time. Also, if you're a sleepier person, don't do it at night. Don't do it in the evening or late afternoon. Make it a morning or early afternoon meditation, so you're kind of more aware. I personally like using, there was a guy on TikTok who was don't use Bluetooth ones, but use them. I personally like using them because I am sensitive to sound. I prefer the noise cancellation of them so that I'm not hearing a million other things, and it's just the tapes. And they're between 30 and 40 minutes, depending. They're not long. So the first thing it has you do is you visualize, I forget what the box is called. There's a name for it, but it's you visualize this box, and you put all of everything that you worry about or afraid of that's stressing you out, anything, just throw it in there. You just visualize yourself putting it in there. And then you visualize or then you do this breathing, and you're going to hear almost what sounds like it's not chanting, but it's like, like you'll hear that kind of thing. So you're like deep breathing deep and you're like exhaling with a noise that causes like a vibration, and you feel like it almost does open up, like depending on how you do it, your throat chakra, your heart chakra. You can feel the vibration in your head, again, depending on how you do it. And then you do, and I forget what the purpose of that is, but whatever. You're creating a ritual, which after doing this ritual, eventually should make it much easier for you to drop in and connect with your guides. Which is why like people are like, oh, like I can just answer, like someone's talking and I just hear the answer or whatever. It's because I do this so much. It's very natural for me, right? And so then after that, you do like a visualization of like taking deep breath and breathing out, and like an energy field, light, whatever, coming out of the top of your head, scooping down and coming up back through the base of your feet and like circulating around. This is like this protective thing. And you can also see it like the other way they teach is like where you then visualize where it's like now spiraling around you as it comes down. And this is like this light of protection. I'm going to connect this to what I do naturally, what I've done in my readings for a long time before I ever knew about this stuff. So it's actually very in line with what I do when I do readings. And then you say your affirmation, and your affirmation is, I am more than my body. I am larger than this, blah, blah, blah. They've got a whole thing that you're written down. And I highly recommend if you go to scribd.com, CSCRIBD, you can download the Monroe Institute Gateway Experience Manual. And it's very helpful because you have it then like with each tape, a description and kind of helpful things and what you're supposed to experience and all of that. And they have the affirmation written out there. So it's helpful if you're like need it to be word by word. I sort of am like, well, here's why I say this is like mine. When I do a reading, I do a quick prayer of protection. So that's like the visualization of the light, or you say like people can like visualize a white light around them. And then I do, I ask you to visualize your guardian angel holding a basket. And in that basket, I ask you to place all of your cares, worries, and concerns. Nothing is too large, nothing is too small. They're happy, willing to take these burdens from you. It's like, so like you sort of like are allowed to take those worries away and like set them aside for a little while you're doing your work. And then, I say surround us with a white light of protection and pink light of love. And I say, and we only connect with those of the highest love and light. Right. So at this point, so when I first started doing the tapes, like levels, the tape 1, levels 1 through 5, I just went through it. I listened to them once and I went through it because I felt like I wasn't going to get enough from those. And it was like stuff I was already doing, right? I don't even really do the focus 10 part because there's no fear of mine about connecting with something higher. Like I'm not worried about what's going to happen. So there's no need for me to like relax because I'm like, okay, let's go. There are readers who are like, I have to meditate for a half hour before I do a reading or do whatever. Like I have to prepare. And like, I don't do that because I'm not worried about that. Like it is so mentally drawn to me that I can just walk down here, hit go and like, let's go. And I don't worry like, oh my God, I'm drawing in the wrong things or the wrong energy or anything like that. Like it is a belief system that I'm safe and protected at all times. And my guides are always with me and like taking care of me. But again, I think that comes with time and practice and also belief systems. So that's why I like this, is because it's teaching you how to connect in you. And then like at a point, you won't necessarily need the ritual of it. Like it doesn't become as important as like, because you get past that fear of connecting and what's going to happen. And so one thing I do like about, I think it's either wave 1, tape 4 or tape 5, where you go in and you take stuff out of the box and you're like, okay, what am I afraid of this? What's the problem with this? What's the underlying feeling and emotion around that, and let me like release that into the universe. So it actually does this kind of like what do they call it? Like dark night of the soul type work. It does this like um deeper work of you like looking at, what are my belief systems? Where do they come from? Why do I have those? And like kind of going, oh, I don't really have to like keep connecting with that anymore. So I think that's really cool about it. Wave two, this tape one of wave two takes you to like focus 12, where you're just kind of like go a little deeper in. I'm going to keep doing that for a little bit because I've only done it twice. And like one of the times I like both times actually, I was like kind of I was kind of falling asleep during it. I just was picked the wrong times to do it. My thoughts on it, like when people are having these scary experiences, genuinely, I think is because there are belief systems that they're still holding to around like what they're going to experience, also around self-concept. So like I mentioned that it would be really good if you have anxiety or you tend to worry a lot before doing this kind of work, before you set in to do this, maybe take a few minutes to do some breath work to I'm thinking of the word, give me a minute, to regulate your nervous system before you go into it. It might set you up for a better experience. I also think when people are connecting with scary things, it comes from a belief system that of like not being empowered, and that there's something outside of you that is more powerful than you are. So like there were things that I used to experience that I would be afraid of. And now I'm like, and my belief system is that this is my plane of existence to experience. And this is my space, and I'm allowed to have boundaries. And so nothing is ever allowed to enter that is more powerful than me. Even those like demony type things, it's like, yeah. And like, I don't know. So I always think like check your belief systems before you're doing this. Like if you're really afraid that something is much more powerful and scary, maybe this isn't for you. Like maybe do the breath work stuff, maybe do the self-concept work stuff first, and check like, why do you believe what you believe and what's out there and what exists out there. I just, um, I think it's important whenever you're doing any kind of spiritual work to stabilize yourself first, right? So like everything is about balance. And when you're like, oh, I I'm meditating all the time and I'm always out there, and like I just want to be like, I want to be like ascended master, and I want to be like this and that. It's like that's not very balanced and grounded either. I don't think any of the quote unquote ascended masters were like, I'm an ascended master, I've earned this. Like none of them gave themselves that title. That was a sort of like afterthought from humans deifying people. I mean, and I think you remember some of the Rafka, some of the groups that we were a part of way back when, meeting at cafes and stuff. Like some of those people were not grounded at all. Like, and our experience as humans is to experience being human. And I think so many people think like, if I'm spiritual, then I don't have to have this human experience anymore, or I'm going to go into the new earth and not have to have experiences. Like, no, like what are you running from? And really, if you go within and do the work within, this is just like extra, right? It's just the sprinkles and the whipped cream and cherry. But the root of the dessert and the root of everything is really truly just learning to love yourself. And learning to love yourselves means not that you think you're perfect and wonderful and everything, but that you have compassion, and that you are um, graceful with yourself and all of that you have experienced, and that you learn to like change that inner dialogue. Um, and when you look at belief systems, you start looking at like, well, like the Western world's idea of beauty is based sort of in pedophilia and like some man's imagination, um, based in his own weird belief systems. And why I say pedophilia is like hairless, super uber thin, perky boobs. You've lost your value after like, your 20s. You're no longer valuable. Like that kind of thought process. So like the ever um, rush for youth, and if you have any sort of like curves or anything, it's like whereas that's not the case in other cultures. So I think like your inner dialogue changes based on what you've been fed, right? you know Either based on physical attributes, or are you lose value if you're not. This is very much white supremacy, I think. I don't know, maybe other cultures too, but if you're not married and have children, you've lost value, more so for women than men. um, and so like how does that shape the decisions that you make and your inner dialogue? So I think doing a lot of like these meditations sort of allows you to take the chance to look at that in a different way, whereas it doesn't maybe seem so overwhelming, where it's like, well, why am I afraid of these things? Or why am I stressed out about these things? What does it say about me? What is the underlying feeling about it? Am I allowed to just release that and let it go and see what happens? I'll let you know what happens when I get further along. People have dropped off because they're like, this is boring. We don't care. But that's been my experience. Excuse me. That's been my experience with it, is like, oh, that's like I think it's a good way if it's too overwhelming to do, like feel like, oh, I'm constantly looking at the I am stuff. Though I kind of like the I am stuff. Like, well, how are you talking to yourself? Why are you saying those things? And then like, how are you joking around with people? Why are, like one of my daughters made a comment, and it was like not a nice thing to say. She's like, well, we're just joking. I said, you need to like be um thoughtful about that, because the thing is like our subconscious doesn't hear the joke, doesn't understand the joke, it doesn't know you're just kidding, it just records it. And when you hear negative things enough, it records it as fact. you know and I'd rather the positive stuff that's not fact become fact than the negative stuff that's not fact become fact. Oh no, did I lose you? No, didn't. Here we go. Hi, Joelle. Do you want to ask a question? You can. We only had a couple today, like literally two. So the one thing that I thought was cool was actually like, I think one of the questions I put out when I was listening to this Wave One Tape 6 was like ideas of how to grow my business to the goal that I want. And like as soon as I came out of it, I was like, oh, and I went onto the chat thing that I have like paid for, Claude, and I was like, hey, this is who I am. These are my ideas. Like, this is what I want to do. Like, can you help me set up a thing? It was just neat. It was like, it never occurred to me to use that to do that before. So I was like, oh, that's like kind of interesting. Hi, McKeegan. How are you? So, I'm gonna make sure that my husband left to go get my daughter. Not yet. Let me make sure, remind him. Let me see. I might have to just give me a second. I got to step out and just make sure my husband goes to get my daughter. How do I keep negative spirits away from me? Hold on just a second. I'm going to answer that. Just give me 2 seconds. I just need to run and tell him. Okay, sorry. I was afraid maybe he fell asleep, so I wanted to make sure. Um, hair, hair, hair. Okay, sorry. That's weird that it's like, but I still can't figure it out. Okay. So this is like the negative spirits thing is like, okay, they are attracted to fear and negative energy. What's negative energy? Like anxiety, fear, depression. Um, I got your payment, Joel. Substance abuse or use. Fear. So if like it scares you, then like it's like getting a little hit from the buffet, right? So how do you not attract them? Well, you can do like a white light of protection around yourself. But really, like the best thing is like I talk about self concept work. So, like, what follows the I am? Because once you become like really strong in yourself, and like, then you start to learn to like, this is my plane of existence for experience, and like nothing is allowed in unless I allow it in. And so, if it's like you're in a good space and you feel good about yourself, then there's like nothing it can feed off of, right? So it won't elicit those thoughts of like, I don't feel good about myself. I don't, all of that stuff. So it's like really like working on your self concept stuff is huge. Um, you know, that's really what I say. Like there's other people who would say like, oh, if you just, carry your smoky quartz or your obsidian or any dark heavy stone, or you spray frankincense or myrrh, or if you sage, but saging can invite spirit, like some cultures believe that. So or salt in the corners, or black tourmaline and selenite. Like you can do all of those things if your brain needs a physical thing to like put around you, or there's put a broom upside down, all kinds of stuff. But you don't have to. If you just believe, like, I don't attract any negative energy, it just doesn't, like, it is not, it's repelled by my energy. You create the belief system, then that's the belief system. And that's what happens. Um, Now, did it take me a long time to just be like, stuff doesn't come around me? My guides keep me safe and I'm totally like protected. Yeah, it took me a while. But in that belief system, I sort of don't attract negative energy. There's sometimes stuff comes around, but it's like there's this like little black things with red eyes. Um, but I'm kind of like, no, like I know what you are. You're annoying. And it's like, this is not your space and you need to go away. Let me just send you a little bit of love because that's a better hit of energy anyway, and call it a day. Joelle, what's your question, love? Oh, black things with red eyes. So what's funny is my mom one time said to me, she's like, "I thought I made those up because I was really, really sick." And I was like, "Oh no, they're real." Like she she was like, I guess there was a period in time when she was like getting strep throat and stuff a lot as a kid. And she said like she would see these things when she would have these fevers. And I was like, "No, no, those are real. Like those happen." You know, there's an opportunity for this space to rent down the street from our pizzeria to develop our cafe and pizzeria concept to a deli kind of shop. Um, can we give a name to that space? Like, I don't know. Can you give a name to that space? It sounds dumb, but um, I'm making a name up. Maybe. Well, what used to be there? I know I'm the psychic. I should know these things. Sure, CB, if you want to ask a question, you can. Um, m- it used to be a clothing shop. Okay. So I feel like it'll work, but there's something weird about the money being like a split. So I don't know if it's like, is there a split payment with it, or is there? And there's also something about where I feel like there's a difference in price. It's not over $1,000 or anything. It's like it's under like $400 because I saw two numbers. I saw 158 and I saw 368, which is an odd number, but it feels like there's a difference in price. But I also feel like you would make it up easily, like the difference. So it might be just slightly more than the pizzeria place. But I feel like you'll make the difference up, not a problem. It's not more than the pizzeria or it's less than the pizzeria. It's less. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not getting a no. Like for certain, not getting no. I'm getting it'll work. It'll be good. It feels like it has more windows. Does that make sense? It has more windows, more sunshine, more light into it. Like I feel like the windows, but the same landlord told about another space close to it that might open up, and that one is bigger. I actually feel like it's very open. So I'm seeing like a wall of windows with like the black, I don't know, iron in front of it, like squares. I almost feel like energetically this one, even though it's not very big, it feels like it works better. It feels like there's a small pizza area, there's a small this area, like it actually works better. Does it face the west? Because I see the sun setting. Like I can see the sun setting, so I feel like the windows face west, the main windows. It's the small, that's why it's making me think more. Deli shop. Yeah, I mean, I can see it working. It feels also like I just feel like energetically it's a nicer space, and I also feel like you feel less stressed with that space. C CB, what's your question? You're very welcome. I got it. What's your question? Hi, Allie. How are you? Excuse me. Sorry. uh, Yay, Allie. Okay, so CB, I feel like you end up selling your current home, and that's where the funds come from. Um, so it's like a non-issue. I feel like it comes from that, and it's like and then qualifying for another loan. Um, do you own just like a piece of land that doesn't have anything on it? Also, that may get sold. So I think that might also help pay for it. And if you're like, does that mean my grandma's going to die? Not necessarily. I don't think your grandma's going to be hurt about it. I think she wants you to do it. I think she'll actually push you to do it. So that's what I'm saying. I don't think your grandma's going to be hurt by it at all. My sense is that she's actually going to push you to take it. Say, please take it. Please go do this. So you'll see. Even if you think like she's like, there's no way at this point, I think um, my sense is that things will happen and you'll be open enough with her about it. And she's like, just please go do this. This is ridiculous. Because you and her great grandbabies are more important than that land. So just sometimes we get caught up on things that we think, oh, this person would be upset about it or that, and they're like, It's funny because Allie, when I was doing these meditations I was talking about earlier, hang on, she's been holding on to it in hopes of putting a house on it. Um, I get it. That's okay though. Sometimes things get held on to for different reasons. It turns out there are 4 different reasons in the end. Um, Allie, I'm doing these gateway meditations. And so like one of the things I put out was like decreasing inflammation in my body and how to like continue to heal it. And it was like, they told me to up my vitamin D, that I'm taking high doses. I was taking high-ish doses. And I was like, okay. So like upped it even more. I'm not telling anybody how much because this is like not a recommendation for anybody else. This is something I'm doing on my own personal journey. We're just going to call it that. But I did that, and I'm going to do it for like maybe like another week or 2, and then I'm going to go back down. But um, it really makes a difference. So, and I really think like, because I've been doing vitamin D like supplements for a couple of months now, 3, 4. I think I started in May or June. I'd have to look at when I ordered it first. Let's see, and then I didn't take it right away. Um, let's see. It was like the end of May, beginning of June when I started taking it. But like it really makes a difference, like on like also eating for insulin resistance. So it's like high fiber, high protein makes a huge difference in your mental health. And I cannot explain it, but like I do not have intrusive thoughts anymore. It's pretty fascinating. You made an appointment for a blood test, but they told me I need a prescription. No, you don't. You should not need a prescription. I think you can just purchase it right through. Did you go on to whatever? You shouldn't need one. You can get. I think you can get it through CVS Pharmacy. You shouldn't need one. There's other things besides where you can get your vitamin D levels checked. Um, yeah, you can do them at home. Thorn has them. You can buy it on Amazon. Everlywell has them. Amazon's only get test for vitamin D test, rapid test, $18. Everlywell is $100. There's also a professional grade one. And then you can do them. You can pay $20 on Groupon for them. Like I mean, there's a lot of at home tests now that you can do. You do Quest Health. CVS has an at home test. It's like just Google. It's I've never done them, but like you can't do them. There's no. I don't know like the accuracy or like what the like there's like a range of error or whatever. I don't know what that is, but I'm not saying be your own doctor, but I don't know, just my thoughts. All right. Does anybody else have any questions? I feel like that's it. So I just really think it's important to do a lot of the self-concept work and a lot of the like, just even looking at like literally if you just pose the question of like, why do I believe that? What do I believe about this thing that I feel like I'm not worthy of having? And maybe you never thought of it like, I've never thought, oh, I wasn't worthy of having something, but I did have thoughts of like, oh, well, just some people get that and I don't. But like self-concept is huge. Highly recommend it. and looking at where your belief systems come from. Because, anyways, is that it? Are y'all done? Quiet group today. We really do need Devery. Regine's been quiet. You're all just snoring away over there. Oh, where did it happen though? Because I feel like what did I say about that one? The other one I was like, did I say, and I can't remember what it was, that when did you ask that? Do you remember when? Oh, you're driving. That's why you're quiet. Please then don't comment. Just be safe. When did I say that? Because I was thinking about that because I think I also said that there would be fires in Orange County, didn't I? And I think that there's fires in Orange County. Oh, what are my thoughts on the presidential debate? I did not watch it. I caught highlights and clips. I cannot watch. I don't have the patience or the bandwidth for Sir Trumpelstiltskin. It was 4 something. Wait. Oh, 4 to 6 weeks ago. Okay, I'll have to look at that. So I liked her answers, but really, like someone I know was saying that, like, oh, well, she just like sat there and let him unravel. And I'm like, well, yeah, like candidates can promise a lot, but at the end of the day, a lot of stuff can't get done without, Congress also being on board with stuff. I think that we're not going to have to worry as much because I think because we've got somebody like in the Republican seat, like Trumpelstiltskin and JD Vance, that like there are going to be people who never have voted before for Democrats at all, just voting down ballot blue. So, yeah, for the local elections, I think are going to become more. Actually, I saw some really insightful questions from older people who were questioning. I think it was here in New Jersey, but I'm not 100%. Someone who was running as a Republican who supports Project 2025. And, she was like, hey, what about Medicare? What about like this, and that? And like actually asking, and the guy didn't have a lot of response. And I think, this is going to be a turning point where the Republican Party really has to, my sense is the Republican Party really is going to have to rebuild. Like we're not going to continue on that. We don't, I don't worry about what other healers and psychics say. I always think it's weird when people say like, I'm a healer. Like, no, you're not. You offer tools and stuff, but you're not healing anybody. Everybody heals themselves. Like even when I was a nurse, I didn't consider myself a healer. I was like, no, I'm just offering tools. From an outsider, Trump seems to us to be one closer to the people. So we are obviously getting more favorable news for him here. Oh, interesting. He's not for the people. I mean, so my father-in-law worked in corporate construction before my husband did. And so decades, and nothing good to say about Trump. He's not a good businessman. He does not pay his bills. He's a con artist. And when you listen to him talk, the little bit that I watched, I mean very little bit that I watched, his thoughts are not formed. He doesn't like it is literally like when we learn in nursing school, it's like word salad. It's when people are schizophrenic or having, Alzheimer's and stuff, it's like thoughts going from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, and never really forming a cohesive thought. So, um, and then you've got JD Vance admitting like that he made it up because he just wanted people to know how bad immigration is. It's like, but then immigration isn't that bad if it's not, if this, what you're saying is not true. Like, why do you have to make something up to make it seem really bad when, like, shouldn't if it is really bad, shouldn't the truth uphold itself? um Indiscretions, also assaults. So, like, whatever. um um my sense is that people are, paying a little bit more attention. I don't sit in the worry seat. And the thing about the psychics and healers, you know just because somebody's psychic or intuitive doesn't mean they're introspective or worked on their own stuff and looking like where, like, also, and I say this a lot to everybody, what I do, like, my readings and messages are filtered through my own experience, right? So, like, when I get like when they show me stuff, if it's like they might show me a person, and so I'd be like, oh well, I might get characteristics and traits about somebody you're dealing with based on somebody I know and an experience I had, right? So it's using my own experiences to get that message out. And so, oh, accusing Haitians of animal cruelty is straight out racism and a dog whistle. Like, that is like um awful. Oh, maybe the sexual indiscretions were with JD Vance. I don't know about him. Um, I know I heard about a couch, but I didn't. Again, I decided to, like, just take myself out of all of this because I know that we're moving into a better direction. I know who I'm voting for, and tying myself into the energy of shenanigans is like, um, with the psychics, I was gonna say is so you might see those people. It's like, well, there is a history of new agey people kind of moving into alt-right territory. I don't know why. I mean, maybe that's like, I mean, there is truth in some in conspiracies. That's why they're believable, because there's always a bit of truth in them. So, like, and the government has done a lot of stuff that's like not truthful and honest. I mean, there's the Tuskegee um studies where it was like with the syphilis, and there's like there is a history of like shitty behavior. So I don't know, and I think some people just, again, it's that idea of like there's got to be like a devil that's controlling all this. I don't know. I also don't like that woman, that Sloan Bella woman. I'm not a big fan of hers. And I say that because I think of some of the shit that she's poured out of her mouth that's like along the lines of like, there's clones and there's all of this. It's like, what if just like, what if there's just like shitty people running stuff and they treat people like shit and they do shitty things to people? They don't necessarily need to clone people. They just like Britney Spears, like people like, oh, she's cloned, or like, that's not even really her. Well, somebody who has severe mental health issues, their voice changes, their accents change. I have a sister who has severe mental health issues, and she has a weird accent when she talks, especially when you can tell when she's like totally off the deep end. It's like, and her cadence in her voice changes, and things are word salady. And it's like, there's some truth in what she's saying, and some of it's very fantastical. And she believes it so wholeheartedly. So, do I see that with Britney Spears? Yeah. Do I think that she was treated incredibly cruel by people that should have taken care of her at the same time? Absolutely. From Sloan? Oh, that woman, I can't even. I block her and then shit still pops up because somebody else like does stuff. So I'm like, ugh. She said something once about, and this is what drives me nuts. And it also drives me nuts that she's like, oh, I've connected with these famous people and they're telling me like that I've crossed over and this is what they're telling me. And I'm like, she also said this woman who's a creator who I had followed because I was really interested in the way that she looked at like celebrity blind items because it wasn't really like just a like gossipy thing. There was like, oh, like this is how PR works. And I thought that was an interesting way to look at it. And she's like, oh, she died of a fentanyl overdose and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, she didn't. Like there was no fentanyl. And yet she has not come out to say like, oh, I was wrong about that. And so I just feel like it just irritates me that she stands on such business that she thinks like, oh, I'm going to, and like also like, I don't know. There's no validity to what she does. I just feel like, okay, so you're right about some stuff, but like, who are you helping? Hi, Anaya. How can I tell the difference between spirits talking to me and my own thoughts? Because I feel like it makes you make it up yourself sometimes. Okay. So whether I would say I would put it in the terms of like how do you tell if it's your guides or you're not? You want to do it that way? Or do you want to do it like actual spirits? Like who do you like spirits like your grandparents that have crossed over? Or do you want to like okay, so how do you tell if it's your speaking to relatives? Okay. So I will say this. It's always sort of out of nowhere. And it is in those moments where you think like, especially like say you're doing the dishes because it's this like very easy thing to do where you keep yourself physically busy, right? And it also helps like drown out like other um outside distractions and you're sort of doing this methodically, right? Because you don't really have to think about what you're doing when you do dishes, you just do them and you can sort of like zone out. And it would be like that, like, oh, my grandma would have thought that was funny. Like it's like a random thought out of nowhere. Sometimes you'll feel like their energy around. I guess I can tell the difference for me, and I don't know that everybody has it this way, but for me, I'll feel like a different. You know how it feels when somebody stands behind you, but they're like when is physically there, but when they stand behind you, they're not touching you. And it's not like you can feel their breath, but you can feel their energy there. Does that make sense when I say that? It'll feel like that for me. Like I'll feel their presence kind of show up. And it feels like to me, it'll feel like or like it'll feel like a change in my head, kind of. And I'll get a flash of their face with me. And I can almost hear their voice, but not completely. Sometimes I don't, but and it's quick. It's here and gone. It's never like a steady, consistent there, like that's how I know. And also there's zero fear behind it. And I think because it seems so natural, especially when you're new to it, there is a lot of that, am I crazy? Or is this like, I must be making this up? Even sometimes when I give readings here, sometimes I'm like, I don't know, this is what I'm getting. But it still has that like, because it's so subtle that like, am I making this up? Like when it's like, I don't even know how to explain it. And like, I think the longer you do it, the more you connect in with your intuition, the more comfortable it is and the more you feel confident about being like, this is what it is. But even then I always go, well, I mean, I can be wrong. But here's the other thing. I'm going to say this. What if you are making it up? What if you are making this conversation up? Is it harmful? Like, are they loving, encouraging kind of conversations? Because that seems harmless to me. Now, if it's like, you're a total piece of crap, I've always told you you're a total piece of crap. Well, that's Definitely not your loved ones. Because even when they've crossed over, they are beyond that. Even if they haven't done a lot of healing work yet, they're still beyond that. But I also think, like, even if you're not fully 100% sure of it, like, what the other side of that is, if it's not really them, is there really any harm in having a conversation with someone who is being kind and loving to you? I don't think so. But that's how it feels for me. So it'll feel like an energy shift. It always comes, like, with my loved ones, it's always on my right side for whatever reason. I would say look for patterns. Why do nightmares happen? I dreamed that I had tumors all over, and now I'm scared it will happen. Um, I will tell you, are you prone to having prophetic dreams? Because the tumor thing seems more to me about, like, seeing the imperfections that you have all over and they're coming to light, and you sort of are having to process that. And imperfections aren't, like, good or bad, they just are. So, like, for me, because I do have a lot of dreams that are prophetic that come true, um, I've never had it's usually, like, there's always a weird angle and there's sort of, like, chaotic. I don't know. I don't have a lot of bad dreams anymore. I'm trying to think. I had one recently. I was like, "Oh, it was a bad dream," but I don't even remember it now. Sometimes it's just your brain processing stuff. But, like, the tumors thing, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna come true. What that is, like, just seeing the ugly parts of you come to light, the imperfections, and then, like, how do you deal with them and how do you process them? Like, it's boiling up. And usually when things come to the surface, it's because it's ready to be released rather than to hold on to them. So if you've been doing that self-concept work and reprogramming your belief systems, then, and your I ams and what follows, that's the stuff coming to the surface and being ready to release. That's my feeling on it. What? You had cancer, so you what? What? I'm confused by that. You had cancer? And some of it can just be like, look, when you have dreams of your teeth falling out, it doesn't mean your teeth are going to fall out. Thank you, Julia. It doesn't mean your teeth are going to fall out. That's usually a stress dream. And sometimes when you have stuff like that, like, I still have dreams occasionally. I have not practiced as a nurse. You had thyroid. Oh, okay. So, and that can be like the fear of, like, that coming back. That's, like, all fear based. I don't feel like that's predictive based. Okay. But, I still, like, so I have not practiced as a nurse in almost 14 years, and actually 14 years, because September was, like, one of my last, let's see, it was, like, right around now. So, because it was, like, 3 weeks before my oldest was born. And I will still occasionally have dreams that I am working as a nurse. I don't have a license because I let my license expire. I just never renewed it. Um, because I was like, if I leave this as a backup, then I was afraid I would never ever just, like rip the band-aid off and just try and build a business. Because I'd be like, oh, like, I'll just fall back on that. And then so, like, my everything is in good standing. I just let it expire. Anybody questions that? Um, but I'll still have dreams that I'm working full shift, or I've been working, like, it's like the second full shift, and I'm like, are they going to find out that I'm not licensed? Like, I shouldn't be here. Why? Like all this stuff where, like, I've worked the full shift and I haven't even checked on my patients yet. Like, oh my God. Like, I will still have nightmares like that. Yeah, I mean, it's just your brain processing stuff. And if you can sort of just let that go, because it's a stressful thing, and it's like if you had to deal with that in your conscious waking state, it might just be overwhelming. I remember after I finished, I had worked, my first job ever was in a nursing home, like a assisted living nursing home. They had a full nursing home, then they had assisted living, and then they had like senior living apartments and they had like, all kinds of activities. And there was a kitchen and a dining room. And I worked in the kitchen and the dining room and like did all the food stuff. And I remember having dreams like after I finished working there, as I stopped working there, like I think I went back and worked like a summer after freshman year in college and like for some holidays and stuff because it was okay pay. And and a guaranteed job to like make money, whatever. Um, but I had dreams about like working there and like having to sleep where they stored the dishes, like weird stuff. Your dreams you're still a vet nurse and there's a total chaos and I'm 60. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like it's just your brain's way of like dealing with stuff. It's weird. I mean, you can see it that way. Like some of my dreams when they come true, like I'm like, oh, like there's one that I'm like, wait, there's actually a couple that I've had. And I'm like, I know these are prophetic ones, and I like kind of interested to see how they show up. But I've had ones where it's like there was one where I was throwing stuff out of my car once. I'm like, why? Like, what is all this stuff on the ground in my garage? This is weird. Why would it be like this? And it was like, it was a situation with one of my kids. Like, and I guess I dreamt about a snippet of this period. And then there was, like one where, well, like in college, I saw my favorite bar burning down, but I didn't like in the dream. I didn't know there was something burning down. All I saw was these weird tubes on the ground, and it ended up being like the huge fire hoses. When I was a kid, I had a lot of chasing dreams, or like running dreams, but I wasn't like I couldn't run, and it reminded me of like there's some video on TikTok where it was like this woman and her husband were like trying to run, but running like instead of opposite arm with leg, like same leg and same arm. And it looked hilarious. I was like, oh, that's how I feel when I run in my dreams. And I like all of a sudden, like I forget how to run or I can't get away. So I think dreams can be spiritual, but they can also just be like your brain processing stuff. And I think it's like 1,000% okay to just be like, there's a balance here. Like, it doesn't have to be, it means this. And also, if you go with the like our beliefs create our reality, then it's like whatever you give that meaning, that's what it means. You end up in the air flying. No, I was like not in the air, ever in the air flying. I was like, why are my legs not working? Why can't I like, hi Fern. How do I tell if the visions I get while meditating is from a person I'm trying to connect with or it's just me making them up? Um, One thing that you can do when you're meditating is also set the intention that you get validation outside of the meditation of the messages that you're receiving. I do that often. So like I'm talking, I don't know if you heard me earlier, probably not because there wasn't many people on when I was talking about it. There's a huge amount here now, but I'm appreciative of your time and attention because you're not in my house and like I don't think I could gather 8 people to chat with me about this anyway. Um yes, screaming in your dreams is like weird. So and that can be a lot. So like you can look at that symbolically of like inability to like use your voice and like be heard. Um so the thing about like okay, sorry. I get a little like, but I'll get back to my reasoning for things. Sorry. So when you're meditating, I'm doing the gateway experience. I'm going through that process to sort of like because there's a lot of people who will do this as a way to connect outside of themselves, but also not really know what to expect because they don't have any history in it. So I've done a lot of the outside connection work. And so this is just a different technique. And so I'm kind of going through and doing it in somebody else's technique and giving insight and feedback. Um, But there's a step in this where and it's around like wave one, tape 6, where you're supposed to put out your intention for what you're wanting information on, wisdom, guidance, whatever. And so I did that one several times before I moved on to the wave 2. And one of the times I was like, can you give me validation that I have actually that the manifestation that I've put out there has actually, shifted, and I'm actually on it. Cause it's like one of those things where it's like, I'm not seeing the evidence in my 3D, but I do believe that things are happening behind the scenes. And so I was sort of like, show me that I've changed. I want to see the change in timelines. And I explained this weird New Zealand thing at the beginning. So I'm not going to re-explain it, but if you set the intention, if you're like, okay, I'm connecting with this person, and then it's like, could you also just validate for me in my non-meditative state that this is in fact what you meant, or whatever, or resend this message in my non-meditative state. That's a really beneficial way to get it. And you don't always know how it comes through, and it may come through that day and it may come through the next day. I also, again, I'm sort of this person that's like, what if it is just you making it up and it's positive and loving and uplifting? I guess you're worried that like, oh no, what if I'm not actually connecting with that person? And that's where please also validate this at another time, or send me confirmation that this is what you meant or wanted to share. I do that a lot, and I promise you the validation comes through. And it may be someone brings up a random conversation about something or whatever. You're very welcome. I sort of try to do things as practical as possible, because I think too many people overcomplicate stuff so that they seem more important than they are or like advanced than they are. And I'm always like, I think that also comes from I've always been very practical and like never really liked all the floofy woo, like of anything. Like even as a kid, I was just always like, why are you working so hard? That seems so strange. Like, why do you work so hard to like accomplish that? You could just do this and it would be so much easier. And I see it's funny, my youngest, I see her have that same, like, she's very, she'll be like, why wouldn't you just do this? I'm like, oh yeah, good point. But it's also comes from the place of like, when I was a nurse, the majority of people have a 5th grade reading level. So it's not to be like, oh, everybody's dumb, but it is to say like, not everybody has a medical background. Not everybody has medical terminologies or understand. Like it's very mind blowing in a way when you see how many people don't know a lot about their bodies or how food affects them, or just, basic stuff. And so I always made things as accessible to people as possible, because it's not that you're dumb. You just aren't, maybe everybody's not afforded that insight. And so like, sure, I could sit there and use every medical terminology and be like all super technical, but like, who is that helping? Like, isn't it our job to like help people and make stuff more accessible? I don't know. And I want more people to know how cool this stuff is. I think it's so cool when you realize like that we all are interconnected, that like finding a sense of peace and balance really is about your own brain. And like the pressures that we put on ourselves are usually based on some outside person who applies shame in the definition of what it is to be successful, and if you aren't there or whatever. And that's strange to me. I think I like literally love the law of assumption, because I'm like, if our beliefs create our reality, like that's such a powerful way to move through life, realizing that your beliefs create your reality, where everything comes from. You're from the city, so excuse your accent. What are you talking about, Allie? Did you mean that for me? I got a text, again, like I'll get texts from people and I'm like, I don't think you meant this for me. Like, this doesn't seem, and they're like, oh yeah, so embarrassed. I'm like, don't care. Just like send it to the right person. Like, it just needs to go to the right person. That's okay. Well, why did you say that? Like, I'm trying to figure out. I didn't think you said anything that sounded ghetto. Just not a term I use, I think, because that's inherently based in racism and me trying to unprogram a lot of stuff. You are a person of color, and so therefore you can use things that I really should not have no business using. Because totally different connotation coming from you versus me. Ugh, little chunk of lip stuff on me. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Wait, Allie, did I say something though about the Orange County fires, or did anybody else remember me saying anything about the Orange County fires? Because I feel like I heard there was Orange County fires recently. You don't remember mentioning the fires? No. That's a good question, because I think a lot of people think that. Naya said, will I get a deeper connection to a dead relative by being sat next to their grave and speaking to them? Mm-mm. No, because if that was the case, then I couldn't do readings. Like, I wouldn't be able to do mediumship over Zoom or over YouTube, if I needed to get a really good connection. So they aren't at their grave, though. Here's the thing: they're there if they know you're going to show up, right? And they know instantly you're going to show up and you're going to be there, so they're there. But that's not the only place they can be. They're not limited to time and space just because the physical body, that's like, it's just a suitcase, essentially. Your body's just a suitcase for your soul. Vehicle, car, whatever container you want to consider it. And so you don't need to be there. I mean, if you believe you need to be there, then you do. When do you do readings? Do you hear a voice, or is it just a thought for you? Both. Some spirits come through and they're so animated and great, and I'll be able to hear like the raspiness of their voice, or like the, a lisp or whatever. And I think that's intentional, to be evidential, to say like, I hear this, like I can hear the deep raspiness of their voice, or like the whatever. And other times it is just feels like a thought that comes through. I like it both ways. It doesn't really matter. I think I've always, some people are like, I only have clairvoyance, or I only have sentience, or whatever. I have always said, and I'm like, I don't care however you want to use me to like give me the information so that I can best share that message. So whatever way you need to come through. So if it's a voice, great. If it's, because sometimes to me, a voice is like, oh, they're just very matter of fact. Whereas like, if I have to go through emotions, I'm like, okay, but I can still do it. Sometimes I can see them and they'll be next to me, in front of me, and I'll be in their energy all at the same time. So I see it from different angles. It's not limited that way. but I don't limit it because I figure, however, again, I want to give the best message possible. So I'm always open to that, except for I don't like stuff moving around, though I've had things physically move in a couple of readings, but I don't love that. But I'm okay with it at the same time, right? Right. Um, does the voice sound like your own or does it sound like a different voice? Both. It can sound like my own and it can sound like a different voice. Was it scary at first seeing them? No. I mean, I've seen stuff since I was a kid. I just didn't. So when I was really little, I would see them more as shadows. And it's evolved over time to become, but do they fully apparate like you see in um, movies? Only sometimes. It's not that often that they'll do that. It's not scary for me because I feel like, again, it's like the only times I've been a little like where I was a little unnerved. Something followed me home from the woods one day. And it was not a great energy. Like this specific being had been a soldier in the American Revolution, and he tortured POWs. So I live in New Jersey, and it's like it's close to Manhattan, and George Washington's men would post up in this area and be able to oversee Manhattan. And so he had died, and so I think there was again, belief systems create a reality. So there are some people who have religious belief systems where it is that like, oh, I was a bad person, so I didn't know Jesus or whatever, and so I can't cross over. Hi, Yama. Okay. Okay. So so it just energetically feels different to me when I know I've connected. I know it's different than me. It's not just me. Also, your intuition is out of nowhere. And I always say, like, again, even if you're concerned, like, it's like if they're telling you to do something bad or saying negative things, that's not it. Like, that's where we need to like step away and be like, that's not part of this. But, but for me, I can feel the difference. I don't know any other way to say it. So that one was doing stuff around my house, and I didn't like that, and scaring my kids, and I didn't like that. The other time was when, so before we pass, especially if we are like in hospice and ill and stuff, we practice sorry. We practice going out of body. And so I worked as a travel nurse. I did several assignments at this place that was like a children's nursing home. And there was a long-term resident there. And I hadn't worked there. I was working at a different assignment at that time. And I was taking a bath. Our bathroom in my apartment before we moved in this house didn't have any windows or anything. So I would take a bath in the pitch black because I could see a lot of energy movement, and I just enjoyed that. And no lighting candles or anything, like just pitch black. I could just see energy movement and stuff, and I enjoyed that. And I'm a weirdo, so hey. So because I could see like fairy energy and lights and colors, and like it was just lovely. And so I saw all of a sudden this head come really close to me and like look me in the face. And it kind of bothered me. So I was like, please go away. I don't know. But then I realized that it was actually this resident who was a long-term resident of this facility, and he passed away like about a week after that experience. I was like, oh, he was practicing. And then I felt totally guilty that I was like unnerved by it. And do I feel weird that I was like in the bathroom and no, because like, I don't know. I think I'd look at it like, because when I was a first nurse, I was postpartum, antepartum, GYN surgical, and you just like look at a lot of crotches and boobies and stuff and helping people out, and you're like see a lot of naked body parts, and you're just like, oh, that's another body part. Like it's like, here's your hand, like it's like there's your boobs. Like it's not like exciting. So I just think that's probably what spirit thinks of us. Like, look at the car door. Like it's just not like exciting though. I did do a reading for somebody once, and she worked in the NHL, and she wanted to connect with one of the players that had passed away. I think it was the NHL. It was professional hockey. And I was like, oh, he was an ass man. And she was like, he was, because he was commenting. But I think that was more to get his personality out than anything. Hi, Ayama. Okay, I'm here. I see you. So, okay, because I have abilities, but I'm very new to it and I really want to see my uncle, but it's something I just have to wait for. Do I need to make it clear? I would like to see him. I will tell you that sometimes they're already showing up. It's just that it's so subtle. And sometimes they don't show up. Like most of my family members don't show up. My cousin's first husband shows up a lot, especially when I'm cooking, but he was a chef. And my grandmothers make appearances occasionally. And again, my grandfathers, but most of the time my family members don't. You could just set the intention that whenever he's ready, he'll let himself be known. Ayama, I got your payment. And it can be because you're new, because it's also, there's like probably a subconscious fear. It's like, am I crazy? Is this weird? And sometimes it's easier, to be honest with you, when it's not somebody that you know, but it's like somebody that somebody else knows, because then you get validation. So you start to feel and understand how it comes through. But if you wanted to, Anaya, I'm recommending to you to go to my website now and sign up for my email list, because I will be doing like some psychic development courses and offering some stuff. Once my new website comes out, we're gonna set stuff up. But then that way, if you want to look for guidance and help, and I do practical stuff, so it teaches you how to connect in with your intuition. And you could ask. I think. Let's see who's on here. Rothka, are you still on here? I know it's late where you're at. I'll take two more. I'm going to do yours and then Ayama's, and then I'm not doing any more personal questions because I'm going to actually hop off soon. And again, sometimes it does feel like maybe I'm making this up, but like I've never had anything bad happen because of it. But again, with my family members, I always know it's them. And they like, one of my guides today, this isn't a family, my guide was like, I should have checked the lid of my daughter's bottle, because my water bottle, because my husband had emptied the dishwasher and I had taken apart all the pieces just to make sure that mold and stuff isn't growing. And he didn't put it back together right. And so her whole bottle, like we went to ice skating and her whole bottle, 16 ounces of water, just like poured out everywhere. And I was like, he's like, oh, I was like, hey, here are the pieces. If you see these in the thing, this is how they need to go together, because he was out. So I just sent him pictures of it. I was like, this is how they need to go together. Because also I think I might forget about it. And that's sort of an important thing. And he's like, and he apologized. And I was like, oh, he didn't, obviously didn't know. And I was like, oh, well, at least it wasn't a school day, because that would have ruined like all of her books and stuff like that. So, but my guides had showed me before we left, like to look, and I didn't even think about it. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. It's like, it's fine. It's in there. I just didn't listen to it. So I will tell you, I don't think your uncle is one of your guides. It is very rare that our family members are actually our guides. And it's usually because, honestly, first of all, they're not far enough out of their humanness in order to have the wisdom and insight that your guides have. So they can be sort of like an overwatcher or protect in a way, but they are usually not far enough evolved away from us in order to do that, which is totally fine. Like, but it doesn't mean they're not around and not like sort of nudging things along for you if they can. But your guides are more like the energy of like the way Alexa or Siri are, like, hey, it's like, they're like, well, we see you're going on that path, but like, we'll just like, we're not here to enforce anything unless it's like really pulling you away from this like path that you're like this destiny that or destination you're supposed to be at. I don't get much interference. I've gotten a little bit here and there because I wasn't listening. And they were like, hello. And it was a loud, booming voice outside of my head. It was undeniable and unmistakable. And everybody has abilities, and it's just, you're in the early phases of it, and that's fabulous. I think it's great that you're taking steps to grow it. It's just like learning a new language. I think everybody should use their intuition. Everybody should tap in. Everybody should understand that we all have access to this. How can you find out about them? I have a meditation on this page here. It's okay. It's not the best recording, but you could use it. And that one is to meet either your guides or your loved ones. And I think that's the best way to do it. Because like when people ask me like, who's my guide or who's this or that, I won't validate that for you first. I want you to go and get the information and connect with them first. And then I'll come back and say, hey, this is what I'm picking up. Because then it validates your experience rather than like me telling to you. And then, because then you could question like, oh, did she place that in my head? Was I thinking that because she already said that? And I think it's a better experience to do it the other way around. Is it normal when I meditate to see purple going in and out of my vision? Yes, totally normal. It's just energy moving in and out. And it's your clairvoyance. So totally normal. Totally love that. And then like sometimes I'll drop in and I'll actually see like fields and ocean waves and things like that. Sometimes it's like it won't fully make sense, but I just kind of go with it. I'm like, okay, whatever you want to show me. Sometimes it's really just about like, also when you're having those experiences, it's really about just like getting used to that, using that ability. Like when you learn to read, you don't start with like words. You start with pictures and associating terms with pictures. So like, look, this is a car. This is like, so you're naming things first. It's very basic. It's not scary. It's not overwhelming. And that's the same thing with the colors and the movement and like just seeing that stuff. It's like just getting you used to this. We're not going to show you anything scary yet. Just dipping your toe in the water. Ayama, sorry, I don't think I answered your question. So, okay, Ayama said, could you check about getting to Asheville, North Carolina? I'm still thinking about, you're still thinking about, I don't know what Noethilino is in Colorado. Can you, Ayama, can you rewrite that? Sorry. I want to be clear on the question. They always come out as smart, Alex, when they communicate with you. Oh, I don't even remember that. So sorry. I don't think that they were being serious. And some of that is like, I always think your guides kind of show up how your personality is. So if you're a little bit of a smart ass, then like they will be. Like if you're very, very pragmatic, if you're very straightforward and direct, they definitely will be. Sorry. Ayama, are you here, dear? Let me write this. I'm just going to put list closed so no one else comes in and purchases anything. I don't understand Ayama's question. Are we here? Are we here? Ayama, if I don't hear from you, I'm going to have you email me. Yours are definitely direct. And I remember your guide saying she's going to ask the same question. My guides are very direct. They're very direct. Yeah. There's not a lot of like, no sugarcoating anything, but I'm kind of like that too. I just don't see the point in it. Illinois. Oh, Illinois is what you're trying to say. Okay. I think Ayama, I think that you need to like drag your, I think you're behind the live. So to catch up so that there's not a huge delay, because it makes it really hard when there's like several minute delay on doing a reading. Northern Illinois and Colorado. So I still feel North Carolina. And I genuinely feel like it's like one of those like quality of life things where it's like the cost of living versus the other places. And I also feel like not wanting Northern Illinois because of the weather. Like, even though Colorado gets a big winter, it's like there's more of a winter lifestyle there. Like there's more stuff to do there in the winter. And like, it just feels like looking at quality of life, it just feels like it's going to be Asheville. You're still there. I'm confused. Okay. You're behind. This is what I'm telling you. Okay. I am pulled to Asheville. I am happy to be wrong, but it just feels like it's based on quality of life, like looking at cost of living and also like weather and activities. It just feels like more drawn there because while I believe North Carolina gets pretty good 4 seasons, it just feels like it's more enjoyable. Okay, I'm going to say goodnight because it's 6:15 and I have children to get ready for school tomorrow. So I will see y'all not next Sunday. I won't be here next Sunday for sure. Maybe I'll pop in and we'll do a special Saturday. So if you give me, I'll try and make it on the community on here, make a little note on it, and let you know for sure on Saturday. It also depends on if I'm ready. Like if I still have to get a dress for this bar mitzvah because I do not dress fancy. So I don't have like loads of fancy clothes in my closet. So I have to go get something to wear. And I still have to get a dress for my daughter, one of my daughters. And so we'll see. But check either subscribe to my emails. Sorry, this is not coming out well. Or I'll put a note in the community thing as well here about next weekend. So y'all have a fabulous week. Enjoy yourselves. Be kind to yourselves. And I will talk to you soon.